So, a progress report on how our dahlias are getting on. If you've been following the series, we've got three sorts of dahlias in the ground now. One are the usual clumps of dahlia tubers. Another sort is our single dahlia tubers, which is we're looking at some of those now. And the other are cuttings which we've taken usually from pot dahlia tubers. So we'll see how each of those groups of dahlias are getting on in the ground. And I want to illustrate a couple of things. First of all, how you can support your dahlias, and this is one method we're looking at now where we're using P-netting. And there are other methods. You can use simple canes, usually in groups of 3 for individual dahlias. Or we'll look at another method which we're using now in production, which is to use what they call the corral method, where posts are inserted in the ground and then some form of support string or wire is used to support the group of dahlias. So let's first of all look at how these dahlias are getting on. These are single dahlia tubers. They're Arete Bliss, and they've been in the ground now for 2 months, so we are actually getting flowers from these. We've started to cut, and I like this because it's a sort of unintrusive dahlia that goes well in bouquets, so usually supports other more colourful dahlias nicely, sort of medium size. So each of these plants you can see now has got a number of shoots. Although the original shoot from the ground was a single shoot, we stopped that single shoot fairly early on in the life of the dahlia, and which stimulates side shoots. And so each of these dahlias now has got lots of side shoots coming from the bottom of the plant, which I've illustrated before. I'll try and show you those now. So this is getting in close to this plant, and if we have a look inside, I hope we'll be able to see the original shoot there, which is a really fat thing now, over 1 inch in diameter, you can see, and we stopped that shoot. If I just part the leaves here, and we'll be able to see the cut end of the shoot. It's right in the middle of the picture there now. There it is. So that's the cut end, and having cut it, stopped it, we then get other shoots below it. If we hadn't stopped it, we'd have a single shoot, and we'll show you some examples of that later on, a single shoot which hasn't been stopped, and we get a sort of a brush pole effect, so we've just got one large shoot. So this method of stopping will produce lots of shoots below where we've stopped it, and you can see below there 2 more large shoots coming away. So now we've got 1, 2, another one in there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 shoots coming away from that single shoot which has emerged from the ground originally from the tuber. So a nice full plant with lots of flower production going on, which is just what we want. I can just show you an example here now of one of the jobs which you may choose to do. So here we have a flower bud, and below it there's another bud coming away. Usually these are in 2s, so if you want to, you can pinch that shoot out. It's not going to produce a flower that we're going to use, and so if we pinch it out now, that will stimulate the flower bud to be larger, because the plant can concentrate its energy on that one flower. show you some more examples of the same thing over here, which is rather better. So if we just look in here, there is the bud which we're going to allow to progress, and there's two side buds here and here, and those two we don't want to progress, so we simply pinch them out like that. So we've got those two axillary buds have been removed, which will allow this central bud here to develop into a larger flower, if that's what you want. Sometimes you don't want very large flowers, so you leave the two side buds on until just before cutting, and then you've got a smaller flower which may be better in arrangements or whatever you're deciding. In this case I don't think it makes that much difference, so as I walk past I tend to remove those just to allow the central bud to develop more quickly. But each and every one of these flower buds have got two little mates. I'm just removing those now. Solitary Bliss, which will open up nicely for us. So to talk about the support, this is one method of supporting a group of dahlias being used for cut flowers. It's not particularly attractive, so you wouldn't want to do it in your garden, but if you're growing for cut flowers, this is an okay method. We used this last year and it was quite successful. It looks bitty, as if this netting will get in your way, but in fact it doesn't. You can hoe underneath, you can arrange for the shoots to go through each of the gaps, which is quite easy to do. Sometimes they get caught up as they grow, but you can persuade them to each of these shoots to grow into its own gap, and the whole system works quite well. We used just one of these last year for the whole of this bed, and it did really well. So this is pea netting. The one we are using here is supplied by Tenax, and they call it Hortonova vegetable support net. So I would call it pea netting. It is plastic, but it's not single use. This will last years, so I'm quite happy using this for the smaller areas. So this bed has got 11 dahlias in, and it's just about right for this pea netting. We also use the same pea netting for sweet peas in a vertical direction. So we've got some stakes in the ground, and we simply stretch this stuff over it, so it's on a bit of a stretch. It seems to be so strong it hardly ever breaks. The time it breaks is when you go in to make a cutting with your secateurs, and you leave your secateurs open and forget, and inadvertently go through the plastic with your cutting edge. I've done that a number of times until I now realise and stop myself doing it. So that's pea netting, just one level for this particular plant. These will get to about maybe 3 foot, getting on for 4 foot tall when they stop growing. So they're currently 2 months old. The variety is Dahlia Bliss, and they were single tubers. So we'll just quickly look at the other dahlias which we've got planted in outside beds. These are preference dahlias, which were dahlia tubers, so they're coming on the best of all because they've had all the energy in the tubers. We've restricted the shoots to up to 7 on these, and as you can see they're already flowering nicely. So we've got a continuous a supply of flowers from these for the next 2 months, and barring pests and disasters. This second lot here, which were also tubers, less of them, are wine-eyed Jill, which are also doing well. As always happens, some tubers fail, some plants fail. This is Brookfield Snowball. These were single dahlia tubers, so as you can see they're not as far on. And here are the last ones to show you, which is inside the new polytunnel. These are the Caffeole Dahlias. Again, they were tuber clumps, and you can see they are getting enormous. There's some nice buds, some nice flower buds in there, which will give us some nice flowers fairly soon. You can see there where the disbudding has been done with blind ending shoots there with one single flower bud in the middle. And then further on here we've got Ambition, which were dahlia tubers as well, just beginning to flower. So they've got to come on quite a long way, and they will do. Some poor celosia there. And then further on we've got the rest of the usually single tuber dahlias and cuttings. So Ludwig Helfert was a cutting. Rossendale Jojo cuttings. It's just beginning to flower. So that's how all our dahlias are getting on. So thank you very much for listening again, and I'll post another video pretty soon. So thanks very much again. Bye bye for now.